Concacaf Women's Under-20 qualifiers. The winner is headed to the Concacaf Championship. It is Guatemala taking on Costa Rica. Good evening, wherever you may be. Happy to have you along as the Concacaf Under-20 Women's qualifiers have reached its fever pitch. This, the finale in Group F, and it is all still to play for these two teams. Mike Watts on hand. How about we take a look at the Group F table? Aruba, 1-0 win over the Cayman Islands to secure their first win in qualifying, but it won't be enough. Costa Rica, a win or a draw, they are through. Guatemala must win to find their way into the final eight. Well, the really enjoyable part of these CONCACAF events is when you get to the final match day. Sure, there's always going to be some kind of implication in a three-team group. Very rare that you get a runaway. But what makes this particularly enjoyable, these clearly the two best teams of this group, and it gives us an opportunity to see best against best with a chance to go make history. Very much a possibility for both sides. Now, if you're Costa Rica, you've been 7 times to the CONCACAF Championship. Didn't compete in 2020 or 2022. They ultimately were set to host the World Cup in 2020, ultimately hosted in 2022. So no real reason for them to partake in qualifying. But they're one of 5 teams in the region to ever play at this level at the World Cup. They're looking to do so for the 5th time and the 3rd consecutive World Cup in 2026 in Poland. They are certainly no stranger to this kind of occasion. Conversely, for Guatemala, they've been to the CONCACAF final tournament, the under-20 level now, on 5 previous occasions, but they were grouped in 4 of those. The good news for them, their first ever quarterfinal appearance, which is to say the final 8, was in 2022. So maybe this is their night to go take out one of the true powers of the region on paper and earn their way into that final tournament in May. Win and you can dream of a World Cup berth. 4 teams from the region are going. 8 teams are moving on to the CONCACAF Championship that will decide those positions. And so as these players take the field, sure, there's regional glory at stake. There very well could be global World Cup stages awaiting some of these very players. The FIFA anthem, the national anthems will follow. We'll meet the teams, and we'll kick it off in Trinidad.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Costa Rica to be followed by the national anthem of Guatemala.
Some nations seemingly pay lip service to the anthems, but sometimes the occasion they grab your lungs and expel the oxygen. And such the case for these two teams. Such a significant game for both. The Concacaf Women's Under-20 qualifying reaches its apex in Group F. Costa Rica taking on Guatemala. A look at the starting lineup for Costa Rica under Patricia Aguilar. Vargas is in goal for the side. Jimena Jimenez will captain the team in midfield, pairing with Daniela Ocampo. It'll be Scott, the third leading scorer in the competition, and Stacey Thomas up front. Maybe in the age of social media, we recognize that those photos of the teams will last a little bit longer, but they're the kind of things you plaster on your wall for years, wearing your nation's crest. Priscilla Perez of Mexico will oversee this match, a crew made up of 3 different nationalities. They do not have VAR in the under-20 qualifiers. Look at the starting 11 for Guatemala. Fernandez leads the line with Franco and Paredes on each side. Dina Polanco, a vital point-saving goal against Aruba in match day 2, captains the side in midfield. Andrea Quinones in goal for Allison Garcia. Four teams from Concacaf will embark for Poland next year. 8 teams from Concacaf will fight for those 4 positions in group stage play, and a location to be determined in May. The U.S. and Mexico automatically qualifying. Canada, Costa Rica, the next 2 teams on the list. Costa Rica, the 4th ranked team in the region. They had to earn it. They'll certainly have to earn it tonight against this Guatemalan team, ranked 12th in CONCACAF, and with grandiose dreams of reaching the World Cup and playing for the CONCACAF Championship. Priscilla Perez holds the whistle and prepares to set this match in motion. For a place in the CONCACAF Championship, qualifiers in Group F. Costa Rica take on Guatemala from Trinidad. Early touch across from Alondra Gonzalez. Gonzalez after it again, the offside flag raised. The Guatemalan manager, Allison Garcia. Guatemala, a win in their opener, a draw in the most recent game. The reality, based on the gaudy goal difference that Costa Rica had accumulated primarily in the 7-0 win over the Cayman Islands, meant there was a high likelihood, even in victory, Guatemala was probably going to need to win this game given the goal difference, and so it is, by both goal difference and by points for that matter. Castrillo, bouncing ball back to Vargas. Here's Lindo, one of 2 starters from Saprissa. Paniagua. We'll see if Paniagua goes down, whistle blows. Free kick, there is the Costa Rican manager, Trisha Aguilar. It'll be a free kick. Daniel Campo stands over the ball. 4 players from Sporting Football Club in the 11 for Costa Rica tonight. A lot of familiarity. Ocampo delivers, punched away by Quiñones, and now Guatemala with a more firm clearance. There's Scott. Great Scott in this tournament, has been tremendous. Actually, the joint second leading scorer coming into the match day. To be fair, the top 4 scorers in this competition all hail from Canada. They have had very little trouble in this event. You could argue Costa Rica with a 4-0 and 7-0 win have been quite dominant in their own right. Even if the final score lines haven't been quite so monstrosely gaudy. Rolled over by Sanabria. Dangerous square ball picked off by Franco. Fernandez. Galindo ripped off the ball by Scott. Gonzalez. Thomas. Turning, firing, deflected. Chasing is Ocampo. Deflection from Jasmine Morales. Sent in behind, caught by Andrea Quiñones. Tecnológico de Monterrey campus in Puebla, her home club. So plays club in Mexico. Takes part here in the Guatemalan under-20 team. Guatemala counterpunching effectively enough. Paredes. Alvarez kept it in, appeals for the throw. That is successful. Costa Rica 11-0 in their 2 previous games. Simply need a draw here tonight to ensure their path into the 8-team Concacaf Championship. It's been a noticeable change away from knockout games and into more of a group stage format. The top 2 teams in each of the 4-team groups will earn a place in the World Cup, as opposed to the potential of playing a knockout game by its lonesome in a quarterfinal, seeing your World Cup hopes extinguished in just 90 minutes. In theory, should allow the cream to rise to the top a bit more clearly. As beautiful a game this is, it can be just as quirky in a one-off. Ball snapped forward by Franco. Fernandez kept it alive. Franco. That's a goal kick. Won by Brittany Castrillo. In all 6 groups, the teams that were seeded from pot 3 and pot 4 in the draw, they've all been eliminated. Which means the finale in each group will in fact decide who goes through the Under-20 championship. It doesn't always work out that way, that things essentially follow the rankings, but they did here. This is actually the only group that saw a draw in the opening 2 match days, that Guatemala-Aruba fixture. Alvarez, Fernandez, Franco all scoring in the 3-0 win over the Cayman Islands. Fernandez and Polanco goals against Aruba. If they had not scored Polanco in the 89th minute against Aruba to equalize late 2 days ago, Guatemala would have been on 3 points coming into this day and would have needed to win by 8 or 9 goals to overcome Costa Rica's 6 points, but plus 11 goal difference. So you could really argue Polanco's late equalizer saved their tournament, at least for the time being. Scott denied by Herrera. Scott, pair of goals, the 4-0 win over Aruba, including a very late penalty. Costa Rica only led Aruba by 1 past the 80th minute. You got the early goal from Thomas, then bagged 3 in the dying embers of that game to put it out of reach. They handled the Cayman Islands much more substantially. They're up 5-0 at the half. They're up 2-0 inside 10 minutes. Driven away by Vargas. Deflected at the end line off of Lindo. But the whistle had blown and a foul was given. Here is the aforementioned Lindo. Lindo took it away, only to cede back to Lindo once more. Rounded by Polanco. Ruiz intervenes. Scott. A 40-yard run, hits off the heel. The attacking player out front, Alondra Gonzalez, now floated ahead and caught, if bobbled, but maintained by Quiñones. Scoreless past 10 minutes in this under-20 qualifier. The winner takes Group F. A draw would see Costa Rica through to May's Concacaf Under-20 Championship. This will deflect out over the end line. Costa Rica's under-20 team going to the 2022 World Cup as the host country, but did not fare very well. Lost 5-0 to both Spain and Brazil. You could argue that's about as tough a draw as you can get. And then you add in a 3-1 loss to Australia. Whistle goes here. Clean first take from Franco, but overzealous from Sanabria at the end. Free kick. Aimed directly at goal by Galindo. Not to be. One back here by Guatemala, squared at the penalty spot, and Karam's away. Fernandez nearly had a sniff at that, and Fernandez seems a little bit lost as to why the whistle had come. Costa Rica has retained the ball. Thomas. Karam's back to Ocampo. Kept in at Guatemala's detriment. Volley back to them. Alvarez. Castrillo. Good turn. Scott playing early. Heavy touch. Falls still. Bounced in to Quinones, who knocks it down. Denies Lucia Paniagua, who scored 3 goals in the Under-17 Concacaf Championship she most recently played in, and a goal in this event as well. Waiting. Unable to beat Quinones even with the deflection. See, Paniagua is still, and this is an under-20 qualifier, 15 years old until November. If she were to go to the World Cup, she'd go to the under-20 World Cup at 16 years old. Ball wound across, and will not bother Melissa Vargas in the least. Paniagua, a singular goal in the 2024 Under-17 Championship, started all 3 games. 3 goals in 2 starts in the 2025 Under-17 CONCACAF Championship. And scored against the Cayman Islands in the 7-0 blowout earlier in this tournament. Again, 15 years old, the number 19 for Costa Rica. Might be the only player on the team with a jersey number higher than her age. Gonzalez. That Franco. Pressure from Scott, retained by Guatemala. Castrillo, quaffing inside of Waleska Franco, sending Gonzalez down into the corner, and Guatemala take the safe path. Swung out by Guerrera, one of a number of players from Cremas, starting 11 for Guatemala. Gonzalez early. Thomas. Paniagua. Corner. First of the game for either team. Paniagua deflects away. Scott steered it. Comes out to halfway. Lindo got crossed up. Guatemala pushing forward. Contact in the area. Wave to get back to her feet. And a throw for Guatemala. There is no VAR. That's Polanco, the captain. Look, the contact really began outside the area. I don't think they'd give a penalty, even if they did have the benefit of VAR. As to whether or not that was simulation, that's a different question. Franco. Squares. Knocked down. Angling. Fernandez slipped through now. And cut back in front of goal. Collected by Vargas. Viola Alvarez at the end from Club Jalajou. Well, Guatemala really starting to find themselves here. Free kick again for Guatemala. Lofted forward and met by Ruiz. Thomas. Certainly been a tumultuous moment in the Costa Rican national team. Benito Rubido taking over, the Spaniard, after an extended run under Emilia Valverde. Went through 2 interims in 2023 before landing on their new manager. Costa Rica clear again. Notably not called up in the most recent window. 4 players with 90 or more caps. Contact on Scott comes with a card. That's a difficult card to absorb with that much coverage. Sorja Herrera booked in the 21st minute. Catching Scott. They did make contact on that last set piece. The question, can they do more now? It was Scott, who's already capped a half-dozen times in the senior national team, plays at Alajuelense previously. Ball lobbed in, comes back to the spot, kept alive. Appeal for handball, play on, and now lifted high by Scott. So Scott creating. The Alajuelense player has been part of that first team now for 3 years at the age of 18. Was part of the 23-player squad at the 2013 World Cup, was the Golden Boot winner, the Under-20 championship in 2023. to imagine a huge future out in front of Scott. Although that was a 2023 World Cup that overall the Ticas would like to forget. 3 losses: Spain, Japan, Zambia. Yet to win a game at the Senior World Cup. Draws against Spain and South Korea in 2015 in Canada, and a loss to Brazil that saw them out in the group. Ball driven ahead over the 18-yard box. Chipped out toward the halfway line. Past the midway point of the first half. This ball will sneak through. Coming back, Gonzalez. Franco. Guatemala have repelled. Maybe there's more here. Propelling forward. Keeper coming out. Made contact, but ultimately is out of position and trying to sneak through. Guatemala could get no closer. Yuretsi Fernandez saw Melissa Vargas leave the penalty area, thinking that would get back to her. It just seemed to die 10 yards out. And so Vargas left no choice but to try and hoof it away. Fernandez nearly the beneficiary of what could have been a trip to the Concacaf Championship, potentially on her foot. Scott. Header speared back. Speared away on the wayward service from Gonzalez. Castrillo tucking in from right back to help keep possession for Costa Rica. Gonzalez sending early. Takes a high bounce down into the corner where Paredes clears. Lindo brought it down but didn't control it. Fernandez was trying to leak out. 25 minutes in the book, scoreless. The winner goes through to the CONCACAF Women's Under-20 Championship in May. Kept alive on the slide by Gonzalez. Tucked back by Scott. Went down. Referee said play on. Now it belongs to Guatemala. Over Alondra Gonzalez. Back to the Ticas national team. Mentioned their February friendlies against New Zealand this month in this window do not include 4 players with 90 or more caps, 6 players with 70 or more caps, including Gloriana Villalobos and Daniela Cruz, Melissa Herrera, Lixty Rodriguez, and notably the centurion of the group, Rocky Rodriguez, who hasn't played with the national team since October, although she has changed clubs over this offseason, the 31-year-old, arguably the best player in Costa Rican national team history. moving from Angel City in the NWSL to Kansas City Current, where she'll play under Vlatko Ananovsky, the former U.S. national team coach. Stacey Thomas shown yellow for that. Second yellow issued in this game. Joins Herrera from Guatemala in the book. And this is as good a time as any for the other 21 players to find refreshment on this 80-degree night in Trinidad. With the yellow card, the injured player allowed to remain in without coming to the sideline. It's Herrera who got that earlier yellow, trudging back into the field of play. That is a really dangerous play in the end. You're going for the ball. It's not malintent, but they contact with the foot. And Thomas is booked.
Ladies and gentlemen, that yellow card in the 27th minute was issued to number 11, Stacey Thomas of Costa Rica.
Well, this has been a great host venue. Multiple groups calling this home over the last week as Vargas comes off the line, catches it before Dina Polanco could intervene. Pops through again. Seeking down the line. Tapped away by Patsan. That had gotten out over the line after a bit of consternation. Cut back inside. Here's Scott. The dynamic, prodigious Costa Rican talent. Now, you could argue the problem for Costa Rica, at least on the men's side, and I bring this up because they've gone through it over the last, call it 3-4 years, is how do you turn the page from a golden generation while not wasting the end of that generation's time? And there are a handful of players that are on the tail end of their men's national team careers that have stuck around through what's been a bit of a wayward experience. You know, the group that ultimately went to the World Cup in 2022 looks a lot like the group that made a run in 2014. Rica send this only as far as Galindo. Alvarez. Missile escape for a goal kick. But Kaylor Navas is retired, but Francisco Calvo, Joel Campbell, part of so many big moments over the years. Celso Borges, Brian Ruiz, retiring in recent years as well. Alvaro Saborio. I mean, you're talking 4 or 5 guys that were in pen for so many years. And such the case, perhaps, moving forward, this Costa Rican national team. While the young players on the men's side have yet to really find their legs within CONCACAF. This chipped off the top of the netting, nearly a brilliant move by Thomas to hit that on the first time with her off foot, it appears. Just narrowly above the bar. There are still very much growing pains, even for a country that has done so well on the international stage, men's and women's, over the past decade plus. Ball curled across the face of goal and out from Scott. So all that to say, a cautionary tale, but much is anticipated, expected from this young Tika's side. All the while, you could argue Guatemala, probably the second best team in Central America. They are 12th in CONCACAF, 79th in the world. Fell in Gold Cup qualifying to El Salvador. Essentially the final qualifier to get into that event in 2024. Have not qualified for the World Cup nor the Olympics, but have been to the Senior Women's CONCACAF Championship 3 times. They've been grouped since a 4th place finish in 1998, their inaugural appearance. Within the last decade, suffered a suspension from FIFA that derailed their program for a period of time. Although that's in the rear view now, and Guatemala with a win here could be as close as ever to an under-20 World Cup appearance for the first time. Good defending by Morales. Up from Lindo. Morales. Go back for a moment. Costa Rica, a lot of people call the group of death. The 2023 World Cup, they did get the group of death. They got the eventual champion, the future Olympic runner-up in Brazil, and the host country in Australia. I mean, you want to talk about getting the short end of the stick. Costa Rica was done no favors there. You can argue they got a decently beneficial draw here in this event. Although they were essentially second runners-up from being able to skip qualifiers altogether. The top 2 ranked teams in the region went straight through, that being Mexico, the reigning champion, in the United States, who've won the event 7 times in its 12-year history, and then Canada and Costa Rica have had to go through the qualifying structure here to get into May's Concacaf Championship. And they've simply outmatched their opponents to this point. Though Guatemala has put up as good a fight as Costa Rica has seen yet in the event. Now for a throw. Guatemala has certainly been up for the fight. Polanco. Karam's back into midfield, Jimenez. Raxolm waiting to throw. Quelled by Ruiz. Scott forward for Thomas. Franco able to get a leading touch onto Fernandez. Got a piece of that and keeps it alive for Guatemala. Franco was making a run behind, but Fernandez was being chased out to the line. Overarchingly strong performance tonight from Guatemala. Not that anyone should have expected anything less. Ooh, Alvarez drew that free kick. So Alvarez closest on the screen. Did a good job to ensure the referee really saw it. And a free kick for Guatemala inside the final 5 minutes of the first half. There's Polanco, comes out of Andrews Osborne High School in the United States. Grew up right near my hometown of Cleveland. From Willoughby, Ohio. Headed to the University of Mary to play for the Marauders. Prolific goal scorer, and that vital goal in the most recent Guatemala match against Aruba. Polanco hangs this up too high. Vargas had it red. Never a threat. Ball offered across. Polanco, notably one of 2 players called up last year that feature within this under-20 team for Guatemala to the senior club. Dre Quinones, the goalkeeper, got called up in June. Polanco called in April. Tapped away by Alvarez. Ushered out Lindo crossing. Strong-willed header, out of danger for the moment. Now the run out is on for Guatemala. Castrillo sliding in. That was haphazard, but did the job. Successfully took Fernandez away. Fernandez has been remarkable in her pressure. 2-3 times she's caught Costa Rica flat-footed. Off the back of Franco. Castrillo. Bounced off Herrera. Thomas. Ball through to Scott. Denied. Thomas continues. She goes down. Comes out to Franco. Ball sent ahead. Is this the moment for Guatemala? And off the line, Vargas got there before Fernandez. An update from the ongoing match in Group B of qualifying. Puerto Rico and El Salvador. Ashley McMahon, the opening goal for Puerto Rico. Annalise Chima scoring the second. Puerto Rico already had the advantage in goal difference. El Salvador needs to win that match to top the group. But Puerto Rico appears to be handling their business quite content before halftime with a 2-0 advantage. The winner of Group B, like the winner of Group F here, will be going through to the Concacaf Championship. Scott on the run, but Quiñones scoops. Should be a limited amount of first half stoppage time here. Very smooth first half. One injury, which acted as a pseudo hydration break for the two teams, which hydro breaks were involved in the opening game here in Trinidad, with temperatures in the mid-80s. One added minute. Both teams have had some late dramatics at the end of halves. Guatemala, late goal against Aruba, but Costa Rica, multiple stoppage time goals of their 11 in the tournament thus far. And that's overcooked. And that may be the last realistic chance here in the first half. That's it. Costa Rica still the advantage in the group. They lead on points 6-4 over Guatemala coming into this final match. But it's all still there. The Guatemalans must win to go through. Costa Rica would go through with this result or a victory. So Scott quelled in the opening half, and Alvarez and Guatemala, two half chances to speak of, are still looking for the breakthrough that could see them into the Concacaf Championship at the expense of one of the giants in the region. Halftime here in Trinidad and Tobago. 45 minutes down, 45 minutes to go. Costa Rica 0, Guatemala 0.
#everyone on the field. Bolton, the official bowl of Concacaf. PIF is a proud partner of the Concacaf Women's Under-20 Qualifiers, committed to elevating youth and unlocking opportunities to grow football at every level of the game in North America, Central America, and in the Caribbean, while focusing on PIF's 4 sponsorship pillars: inclusivity, sustainability, youth, and technology. And Riyadh Air is proud to be the official airline of the Concacaf Women's Under-20 Qualifiers. The partnership brings together 2 ambitious, like-minded organizations who share a commitment to excellence, whether in the skies or on the pitch.
Trinidad and Tobago. Costa Rica, a winner, a draw, they're through. Guatemala only win the group with a victory over the current leaders, the Ticas. It is scoreless at halftime. The winner into the 8-team, 2-group Concacaf Championship in May, from which 4 teams will qualify for the 2026 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Poland. Is it history in the making for Costa Rica or Guatemala? 45 minutes to find out. A smooth first half, not many chances. That is to Costa Rica's benefit in theory, but they are allowing Guatemala to hang around. And the 4th-ranked team in the region could just as easily be ousted with one singular error. Sila Perez of Mexico awaiting the signal. Is it Vargas who comes up with the big save? Is it Quiñones on the other side? Is it the likes of Polanco or Alvarez, or those of Scott or Thomas or Paniagua who scored that all-important goal? The countdown is officially on. In American baseball parlance, they call this the Network Stooge. Hold up no longer. On to the second half we go in the CONCACAF Women's Under-20 qualifiers. Guatemala taking on Costa Rica with Group F hanging in the balance. Costa Rica made very quick work of the 2 teams at the bottom of Group F. 11 goals scored and none conceded. Dominated Aruba and the Cayman Islands. Guatemala, it's been a tougher row to hoe to this point. However, the draw that they secured against Aruba proved just vital, as it gave them a chance to go through with just a win. No need to worry about goal difference. The reality of the goal difference going into that second game 2 days ago, they would have needed to blown out Aruba by something like 8 goals to have a chance to usurp Costa Rica's goal advantage. That was unlikely. They just needed something from that game to give themselves a chance today, and they did. They eked it out in the final minutes. And so it's all on the line here tonight. This catches off the arm of Morales. Screams out of play. Thomas fails to win that appeal to the referee. Thomas, Scott, Paniagua, Campo, they've all been tremendous in this event. Ball across the face of goal. That question not answered very cleanly. Kept alive by Fernandez. Ball aimed at frame and caught by Vargas. A hopeful effort from Alvarez, perhaps with a little more depth to it. Could have really troubled the keeper, but it was straight on. Pounced on by the Guatemalan defense. Thomas bearing down. Paniagua. Touched aside. Franco continues. Plays early. That's going to slip ahead. Fernandez driving. Fernandez, well, that is 4 white shirts. Make that 4 red shirts and only 1 Guatemalan shirt. It was always going to be difficult to pull that through. Costa Rica spared their blushes down this near flank. Paniagua. Thomas. Scott. Through now Thomas. Great 1-2. Thomas. Snagged by Quinones. A little bit of a hobble from Thomas coming out of that. And with the sliding tackle from behind, had she gone down, there could have been a real tough decision for the referee to make. And there are levels of football where you anticipate the player going down to force that tough decision with the ball out of reach. Thankfully for us, that is not a problem here tonight. Campo was held by Galindo. As Tiara Ruiz Scott comes high to Jimenez, who captains this Costa Rica side. Castrillo pumps the brakes, flicks inside. Good run of play here. Gonzalez back, Castrillo again. And under so much pressure, Castrillo puts it out to touch. Carla Paredes all over Castrillo. Fabiola Alvarez overtaken, but the ball rolled forward for Thomas to try and run onto. Lindo. Thomas. Quite the battle with Morales. Free kick is right in front of the Costa Rican subs. Paniagua. Hit to the near post, falls atop the 6. It's wide. Oh, the best chance for Costa Rica by far, and they know it. Guatemala needs to win this game. Right now, Costa Rica would go through, but that insurance would have been unreal. Sanabria was right there. The defender was forward and simply misfired. Gonzalez whips the cross, bouncing free, sent away by Guatemala. High bounce, there's the whistle against Fernandez. Paniagua, end line, cut back, rolls all the way through. Had Scott waiting. Jimenez. Here's Sanabria. Well, we're just getting to the good part now. Approaching 10 minutes into the half, and both teams intent on finding the goal that would turn this in their favor. For Costa Rica, it's essentially insurance. They'd love to win their group outright and do so with 3 victories. For Guatemala, they are right there, but if they concede, they'll need 2. Floated over by Scott. Too far for Gonzalez. Castrillo got down the line to backstop. Gonzalez now. Rolls high, Jimenez. Now Ocampo. Tried to dribble through traffic. Ocampo gets it again. Rolls back through Jimenez. Castrillo. Gonzalez. Spins by. Patson sends the ball through. Was aimed for Scott. Paniagua unable to collect on the backside. Ocampo settled by Quinones. No score, 55 minutes gone now. Ball sent through, seeking Thomas. Back into the final third. Scott crossing. Paniagua and Thomas were there. Ball comes back. Ripped on the underside of the bar and in. Oh, wow, what a goal. Alondra Gonzalez. A magnificent strike that may have just put Costa Rica into the Concacaf Championships. They have been trying this cutback ball in front of goal. What are the odds from that angle? Gonzalez in the right place at the right time. But to hit this so cleanly off the underside of the bar. A tremendous goal for the Ticas. And they are just over half an hour away from a perfect group stage performance and a trip to the Concacaf Under-20 Championships in May. Tremendous, truly. Now, the entire impetus is on Guatemala. Costa Rica, if they concede, they're still in with a draw. They would win the group on 7 points. But if this were to swing in Guatemala's direction, they'd need 2 goals to do it now. Whistle goes against Stacey Thomas. Fernandez, that takes a kind deflection for Guatemala, but that's all it gives. Costa Rica quell quickly. Now with Guatemala pushing for a goal, Costa Rica could open this up. Launched by Scott. Thomas in the wake of Morales. This is probably going to need a more elongated look. Nearly the tragedy it initially appeared. Thomas, Costa Rica, scintillating stuff this second half. Paniagua, Thomas stalls, deflects, cleared, and an injured Guatemalan player behind the play. So an injured player looked at now. Here for Guatemala. What a goal, what a moment for Alondra Gonzalez. And pain to walk off the field is of great concern here for Guatemala. Polanco looking for further instruction. Jackson comes off for the time being. Is a defender for Guatemala. They'll play with 10 for the moment. Intordo Campo snuffed out by Polanco. Foot race in behind. Ruiz won that race. Another foul suffered by Guatemala, this one by Galindo. Past the hour mark now. Guatemala doesn't need one, they need two. Costa Rica still chasing another goal. This is the time to get one. Instead, it's Thomas breaking through. It is Thomas above the bar. Not a bad look. Big anything you can do, I can do better energy there. The angle there was about as tight as what Alondra Gonzalez had just dealt with. And didn't miss it by much. Yeah, this will come with changes, but it's to Costa Rica. So Vargas and Vasquez coming in. There goes Lucia Paniagua. For now, it appears mission accomplished for the young 15-year-old prodigy. Brittany Vasquez coming on for her. And then Alondra Gonzalez celebrated with the bench as they warmed up. Now gets to celebrate alongside the coaching staff. The go-ahead goal in this game came from her. Second goal would sure feel like a dagger. Yes, sir. Trying to whisk a cross in. And this will be a corner, just the second of this game. Previous corner came all the way back in the 17th minute. 50 minutes without a corner kick. Guatemala's done a pretty good job in this game of not conceding unnecessary set pieces. All sent across, punch that, comes high. And Centaur goal and narrowly wide from Jimenez. Oh. There's the punch. And Jimenez coming forward. You can see the shadow cross that near post. That close from Costa Rica, nearly sealing the deal. Scott Thomas stridently forward. Thomas! Costa Rica ahead by 2, and that may well be the dagger tonight. The second highest ranked team in qualifying, flummoxed by Guatemala for nearly an hour, has doubled their money, and they're 20 minutes away from a perfect group stage. What a ball from Scott, and the presence, the calm of Stacey Thomas. Had been hunting a goal all night, has it now. Ladies and gentlemen, that goal for Costa Rica in the 68th minute was scored by number 11. 2-0 Costa Rica. And they are on the verge. Guatemala now need 3 goals. And Costa Rica aren't letting anything go just yet. One would imagine that Costa Rica, based on how the draw will be set up, will be in the same group as either the U.S. or Mexico. And you'd imagine that in terms of how the pots line up, they'll be in pot 2 alongside Canada should they get through. Those 4 teams will be expected to get through to the World Cup in Poland. However, we've seen crazier things in Concacaf. They have switched to a group format for the Concacaf Championship, created this qualifying structure to ensure that everyone in the region has a chance to get in, but that the games in the championship itself prove competitive and ultimately give the best possible teams the opportunity to get to the World Cup from the region. It's awkwardly nearly given away, instead carried by Raxon. Free kick coming here. Campo playing short. Lindo slicing a good cross through. Thomas was there. Comes out to Campo again. That's really well worked. They got just the player they wanted. About 12 yards from goal, but too much heat. Sanabria, whose earlier chance in front of goal, certainly forgiven now. It's the best chance for Costa Rica to that point. Now that the Ticas have 2 goals, doesn't feel like the world rested on it quite the same way. Guatemala needed to win this game, and the longer it stayed 0-0, the higher the likelihood they could steal one at the end, just as they did against Aruba, but that may now be out of the cards. They're going to need 3 goals in the next 20 minutes. Something borderline miraculous. Ball pinged ahead. Thomas again. Thomas squarely at Quinones. Send in behind. They'll bring this back. Free kick Guatemala. If they can just get one, maybe there's a path forward here. Create a little bit of chaos, but I haven't been even particularly close to goal in the last 20 minutes as Costa Rica has run away with this game. Served over. Comes out for the run out from Ocampo. Thomas front running. That wrong-sided her. Ocampo. Now Scott. Excellent corralled from behind. Little extra push from Scott. Third sub, second window for Costa Rica. That's it for the other goal scorer. Gonzalez came off previous. Now Stacey Thomas takes leave. Gonzalez scored in the 57th. Thomas in the 68th. And Kesey Taylor comes on for Costa Rica. Still the same 11 started the game, meanwhile, for Guatemala. Morales got swarmed, trying to play through midfield. Jimenez, now Ocampo. Sends through early. Taylor, nearly her first touch of the game, could have been in on goal. Quarter hour to play tonight in Trinidad and Tobago. Costa Rica, 2 goals to the good. Trying to finish out Group F with a perfect record and the lone ticket from the group into the Concacaf Championship. And this is where you feel for Guatemala in some ways. They're a mid-tier Pot 2 team in this event, but they end up getting the second best team by ranking in their group. And with no chance to get through as a third place team, their 4 points are going to come up short of any kind of consolation. But no runners up getting through this qualifying structure. And that's poised to be a tough pill to swallow for this Guatemalan team that really did play Costa Rica quite well. Vasquez. Ball brought down by Taylor. Taylor's first interaction with the ball is cut short by Herrera. Snap forward again, aiming for frame, and Quinones holds the shot from Scott. Double sub for Guatemala. First time they've gone to their bench. Crisia Garcia and Stephanie Alvarez coming on. End of the night for Fabiola Alvarez and Carla Paredes. Again, the first 2 subs of this game for Guatemala. That is a player from Zelaju and a player from Cremas coming on for club teammates. Polanco hobbles away, has had a very nice tournament here for Guatemala. few internationally based players, this Guatemalan team, for this event. (2-0), Gonzalez in the 57th, Thomas in the 68th. And Costa Rica is still looking for more. Back heel for Taylor. Ultimately, this does continue. Here's Scott. Scott off the post. The follow from Taylor sent sailing wide right of the post. Scott was looking for something pretty spectacular here. The hold-up play, brilliant from Taylor. Not something you see enough at the under-20 level. And then Scott hits the woodwork about as cleanly as you can. There is obvious attacking talent in this Costa Rican front three. Thomas and Scott Paniagua, they have been just scintillating in CONCACAF play. A lot of reasons to be optimistic about this generation of Costa Rican players that very much hope to place their name in a vaunted place. Only 5 teams from CONCACAF have ever made it to the World Cup. Costa Rica hosting the event just a few years ago. They've been to multiple World Cups. This group could as well. Scott working for Taylor. And out for a corner. You get through 73 minutes against some just blazing fast, technically gifted players. I mean, Thomas tested that back line in behind multiple times. Uncomfortable moments. And you look up and Taylor comes into the game. Just stiff-armed a player. Helped create what could have been the 3rd goal. Corner for Costa Rica, and this header goes up above the bar. Mena Menez. Second really decent chance in this game for her. For a goal. Taylor. Quiñones nearly made a mess of that. Bailed out. What a run. Scott denied. Stabbed away. Scott. And this sent wafting toward goal and caught by Quiñones. El Salvador has pulled one back. They need to beat Puerto Rico in Group B to advance. They are now trailing 2-1. But it is still within reach for them. Meanwhile here, similar scenario for Guatemala, but time is running out. Pumped forward again. Taylor, right to Quiñones. Jamaica and Nicaragua ongoing as well. Crown a group champion there. Jamaica has to get the job done in Nicaragua, and they need to win. They trail on goal difference going into the finale there. El Salvador is equalized. 2-2. These games all started concurrently. And in Group B right now, Puerto Rico and El Salvador are level. Puerto Rico will go through to the CONCACAF Championship on goal difference. Meanwhile, here comes Scott. Finally cut off, approaching the penalty area. Shot out of a cannon. Sand through the hourglass here. Costa Rica, they are so very close now. Essentially, this is a 3-goal margin for them. Knowing Guatemala have to win the game. Throw for Costa Rica. Punched outside by Jimenez. Cross lofted and sent away by Guatemala. The offside flag was raised, and really it's no time like the present. It has to be soon for Guatemala. There's just not going to be that much added time. Jamaica and Nicaragua are approaching halftime. It is scoreless in Managua. Again, Nicaragua leads on goal difference over Jamaica. So that's maybe the most likely upset here in the group stages of qualifying. That's it for Daniela Ocampo. This is the final substitution moment for Costa Rica. And they will make a double sub. Gonzalez and Ricio coming in. And there is Fabiana Sanabria, who was ultimately spared, had the best chance closing into an hour, but ultimately the players that are here to score, Thomas and Gonzalez, accomplished what needed to be accomplished in the 57th and the 68th, respectively. So plenty of drama ongoing in these under-20 qualifiers. The run out is on, but met by Quinones. El Salvador with a goal go through over Puerto Rico in Group B, and then Jamaica and Nicaragua on level terms approaching halftime. Nicaragua would go through with that result. It would be a real surprise over the Reggae girls, who at the senior level have made the World Cup a much more common occurrence, even with the tumultuous waters around their senior national team. Lack of federational support. All the while here in Trinidad, Costa Rica just looking for an exclamation point. Scott offers service. Quinones came for it and didn't get it. That was the fourth corner for Costa Rica. And a throw deep in the Guatemalan end.
Entering the game is number 21, Raquel Ricio. Leaving the game, number 8, Daniela Ocampo. Also entering the game, number 20, Nicole Gonzalez.
I've seen a lot of games in CONCACAF over the years. Very rare the field condition remains this good, this long. They've done a great job here in Trinidad playing host to this event. That is a very high hop that Andrea Quinones is able to snag. Great experience for these players. 24 teams taking part in the qualifiers, 26 part of this overarching World Cup qualifying campaign in the Concacaf Championships, including the 2 teams that have already advanced automatically by their ranking in the U.S. and Mexico. It appears the 4th-ranked team here, Costa Rica, is set to go through. The 3rd-ranked team, Canada, is in excellent station going in at this stage. Jamaica is in danger. Puerto Rico is in danger. The Dominican Republic still have work to do. They trail Panama going into the finale. And Haiti still has to get by Guyana. Flutters into the corner. 90th minute now. Guatemala in need of 3 goals. They'll need to be nearly perfect from here. Raxon, that's deflected. Precious time ticks away. Well, for Guatemala, Polanco's late goal against Aruba gave them a glimmer of hope. And at halftime, they've been right at Costa Rica's level. But sheer magic from Alondra Gonzalez. A brutal way for Guatemala to fall behind in this game. Scott, will she get her goal? Weans out to Lindo, back into Scott, it's behind her. Bounces right to Scott. Scott! Oh, great, Scott, what a goal! Could that be any more deserved? The 2nd leading scorer in qualifying. In stoppage time, 3 goals, 3 points, a perfect 9 of 9 in the group stage. Costa Rica has gone back to the Concacaf Under-20 Championships. Could you have been in a more convenient place? The really difficult pill to swallow for Guatemala is that 2 clearances fell just perfectly. First to Gonzalez, then to Scott. And 2 outstanding finishes sees Costa Rica, along with the Thomas goal, 3-0 ahead. Scott a goal and a picturesque assist as well. And Costa Rica on their way through. Guatemala gave them all they could handle. This the 2nd of 3 minutes of added time. And so we'll see who else out of pot 1 manages to get through. That Jamaica game and that Puerto Rico game. El Salvador is only 2 slots beneath Puerto Rico. That was always going to be tough. Jamaica getting the lowest ranked team in pot 2. But battling tooth and nail with Nicaragua and having to do it on the road in Managua. So no givens here on the last days of Under-20 qualifiers. Meanwhile, Aruba did win. Rogers, all 3 goals for Aruba in the event. Got the draw against Guatemala, the win against the Cayman Islands. And Aruba finish above their seeding, 3rd in the group. The Cayman Islands finish bottom, taking no points. And Guatemala is set to finish 2nd by goal difference, but in this structure, only the group champion goes through. And Costa Rica has left no doubt. 14 scored, none conceded. literal perfection in this event. Franco went down, out to Lindo. There's the tug. We've gone the 3 minutes. It's a matter of seconds now to confirm what had been anticipated. Costa Rica win Group F and are moving on to May's Concacaf Under-20 Championships.
Guatemala, nil. Congratulations to Costa
A
Rica.
3-0 win over Guatemala to win their qualifying group, taking all 9 points. 3 wins and an unblemished defensive record, 14 scored and none conceded. Alondra Gonzalez in the 57th minute. Gorgeous goal off the underside of the bar, broke the dam. Stacey Thomas getting in behind in the 68th on a beautiful pass from Scott. And Sheikha Scott scoring yet another goal at 90+1 to secure the win. Her 5th of the tournament, trails only Kaylee Hunter of Canada for the qualifying Golden Boot. Guatemala give all they can, an epic effort. They do fall short. They'll finish second in Group F. The final score in Trinidad and Tobago, Costa Rica 3, Guatemala 0. And Costa Rica have won Group F, the CONCACAF Women's Under-20 qualifiers. Full-time highlights of this Group F pseudo-championship match. Guatemala needs a win against Costa Rica, but the Central American giant, with the goal difference advantage going into the finale, knows that a win or a draw would be enough. And Costa Rica creating from near the opening whistle, this whistling above the crossbar from Sheikha Scott, although she would eventually find her goal. Ball wound ahead, and real danger. One of the better chances for Yuretsi Fernandez of Guatemala. Costa Rica and Melissa Vargas caught a bit flat-footed, but ultimately recover. Scoreless past 20 minutes. Costa Rica angling in behind, a familiar sight. Thomas, such a danger. Looked for what would have been a magical goal. Flicked it on the first time, but above the bar. Costa Rica applying pressure through the first half hour. But Guatemala did, in the latter stages of the first half, punch back. That was Polanco, no-go from distance. Ball through for Fernandez, cut off by Vargas in the nick of time. And it was on to the second half where Costa Rica would largely dominate. Here's Thomas pulling through, but Vargas collecting. Then on a set piece moments later, narrowly wide, Sanabria was forward. Wide of Quinones, still scoreless. But how's this for a kind deflection? Pops out on the cross from Scott, right to Gonzalez. A 57th minute stunner. Off the underside of the bar and into side netting. The goal straight out of central casting. Costa Rica pull ahead. Then with Guatemala playing a higher line, Thomas above the bar. this a precursor to what would feel like the put-away goal for Costa Rica minutes later. This thrust aside, cut back across the face by Jimenez. The look at the bench, the Costa Rica staff. Close, but no cigar. But Thomas would, in essence, put it away right here. Quiñones trying to cut down the angle. Thomas able to sneak it under her arm. Costa Rica 2 goals ahead at 68 minutes, and they would continue to pour on pressure. And Scott wraps it off the bar herself. And Sheikha Scott at 90+1 puts it away. Costa Rica wins it 3-0. They take Group F. So this was the concluding match of Group F. In this doubleheader today, Aruba a win over the Cayman Islands, 1-0. And in the late game, which decided the group, Costa Rica a 3-0 victory over Guatemala to seal the group with a perfect 3 wins from 3, 14 goals scored, none conceded. Guatemala finished second on goal difference ahead of Aruba. Cayman Islands at the back of the pack. So, for our entire team in Trinidad and Tobago and beyond, Mike Watts saying thanks for watching the Concacaf Women's Under-20 qualifiers. Costa Rica are among the final 8. They are into the CONCACAF Championships, where they'll compete for one of 4 positions, the upcoming FIFA World Cup in Poland next year. Costa Rica winner over Guatemala 3-0. So long for now. Good night.
Venga, vale, espere, una sola y después. Bring it 5.